Hello and welcome back to the Not the Old Firm YouTube channel. My name is Ben Banks, back to look on the League Cup quarter-finals with James Black after, completely surprising. Perhaps not so surprising in three of the results, but one of them in particular has thrown up all sorts of shocks and opens up this League Cup.
Hibs getting past Alloa has been a right surprise, I must say.
Yes, and Livingston as well, where we're all stunned. But we'll look back on it all. Obviously, the Tuesday fixtures, Alloa did make it very nervous for Hibs, to be fair. It looked as if a shock was coming, but Hibs did manage to grind it out in the end. Few questions were getting asked before the end of that game about Hibs' bottling these type of games, but they did eventually get it there. Stevie Mallon coming off the bench and setting up Christian Doidge, and then Christian Doidge had another effort coming off Nicky Jamieson at the end, and they went through 2-1. And then St Johnstone got through in penalties against Dunfermline. Whilst it may seem a penalty shootout victory for the Premiership side over Championship, perhaps a bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card, Dunfermline and St Johnstone are perhaps a bit closer than a lot of people really realise. So a good result for St Johnstone on the road there to get into the semi-final. And then on the Wednesday, Livingston 2, Ross County 0, 2 goals inside the first 25 minutes in the semi-final that probably went just about the way everybody expected it to. And then in Paisley, a bonkers League Cup game, probably one of the best cup games in Scotland in a few years. St Mirren 2, Rangers 3. Rangers looked like they were going to steam ahead 3 or 4-0 early on. And then Jamie McGrath scored before half-time to level things. He got his 5th in 4 games in the 50th minute before Stephen Davis looked to have sent the game to extra time in the 89th minute with a nice volley into the ground, up and over Jack Alnwick. But up the other end did St Mirren go. Jamie McGrath again, ball into the box. Richard Tate's header, well saved by Alan McGregor, and then Conor McCarthy putting it away to send the Buddies into the last 4, setting up a last 4 of St Johnstone versus Hibs and Livingston versus St Mirren. So a massive opportunity for these 4 clubs. And we'll look back on these games quickly, start with the Tuesday ones. Alloa v Hibs, as already touched on. If Alloa managed to get through there, then could you imagine how different this tournament would look? Alloa, Livingston, St Johnstone, St Mirren but now Hibs are the massive favourites for this tournament.
Yeah, definitely Hibs really kind of clear favourites now to lift the trophy. I wasn't too surprised to see Alloa make it tough for them, though I said before that going to the Rex is always a difficult place for teams, especially in cup games. So it was always going to be a tough game, but Hibs got there in the end, and he did be an own goal. But I think it's probably fair to say it's Hibs' trophy to lose now.
Yeah, the way this tournament's gone, I would not be surprised in the slightest to see St Mirren or Livingston versus St Johnstone in that final, because that's Celtic being shocked, Aberdeen, St Johnstone weren't even thought. Mull were favourites against St Johnstone at Fir Park a few weeks ago. Rangers have obviously went out. Hearts get put out by Alloa, even though they're in the Championship. But a lot of big teams are out now, and if Alloa managed to get through, that would have been another massive shock. But they did themselves no harm, I don't think. Hibs eventually just, when you can throw on Stevie Mallon and players like that, it's a part-time side, there's not a lot you can do. And then the other game, St Johnstone versus Dunfermline, 1 each. In that one, it went to extra time. Sean Rooney, former Cardinal Newman person with a certain host of this wee show, scored for St Johnstone before Ian Wilson equalised for Dunfermline. Then up in the penalty shoots, Liam Craig scored the final penalty to send St Johnstone in the next round. Fairly decent for St Johnstone. I would not have been surprised at all if Dunfermline won that, because going away to Dunfermline is awful for a Premiership team.
Yeah, Pards have been in great form this season so far. Despite the blip against Morton last weekend, it was always going to be a really, really tough game for St Johnstone to go there and come away with the win. So it's a really good result for them, and it kind of gets them back in the horse again after their defeat at the weekend. Kind of brought their good form to an end. So it's a good result for them. I think they'll be one of the. I think St Johnstone are probably going to be sitting there thinking now that they've a really, really good chance at getting trophy. We've seen the last maybe month or two, a real dogged side to beat. And when you go to Hampden for the semis and the final, it's going to be, they're going to be right up for it, so it's going to be a right hard task to break them down and get a place in the final.
Yeah, but I don't think it's the old cliche. No way, if you're in the semi-final, it's not going to be an easy game regardless. But you probably wanted to avoid Hibs, given that they are the new favourites for this tournament. Looking on the Wednesday games, Livingston versus Ross County. I don't know if you've seen the first goal yet for Livingston. Completely bizarre. It deflects off a Ross County defender, Scott Robinson's pass, and the Ross County defence just stopped thinking it's offside. Obviously not offside because it's deflected off a defender. Craig Sibbald just goes through and scores. Completely easy. And then another, Callum Morris tried to clear the ball. It came off. I think Scott Robinson again, it might have came off and just deflected over the defence, and Alan Forrest headed in 2-0. But I don't even and we'll hear from the manager shortly, but I don't actually think Livingston played all that well. They played okay, but they've played better in recent games. But everyone just seems to be going for them, in contrast to County, where everyone, despite the result against Celtic a few weeks ago, everyone seems to be going wrong.
Aye, it was one of those ones, I think, just looking at it, with Livy are in really good form in the game. County were fairly struggling if you take away the Celtic result, so there's no huge surprise kind of the outcome of that one. Good to see Craig Sibbald scoring. I really like Sibbald. I think he's a fantastic player. He's never quite kind of hit the heights he probably could have. So I quite like seeing him getting the score sheet. But yeah, it was. I think that was the one out of the 4 quarter-finals. That was the one game where I think everybody kind of had it going to be a Livingston win. So no real shocks there.
Mm-hmm. And we heard from David Martindale and Ross County manager Stuart Kettlewell at the end of the season.
So obviously frustrating to concede that early goal. I think the more contentious ones we're looking at was in the first half, the yellow card for Billy Mackay being clean through and goal. I would love an explanation. I think we've had one, and he wasn't in control of the ball. However, I think in a through pass, sometimes you need to try and penetrate the space to get onto the through pass, and we could all see that he was clean through and goal. So that amazes me. That amazes me, and that's a big decision at that time in the game. That's come from the 4 officials. So, yeah, they're all united on that. The explanation on that one.
Just after that,
again, Harry's a pretty honest boy, and I think for him to go down, I think we all watch him getting kicked up and down the park on a weekly basis. He takes a lot of challenges, he takes a lot of contact, and generally when he goes down there is contact. He's adamant he's been filled inside the penalty area, and again that comes at a big time in the game for us if we can try and get Sale back in it.
Again, the thoughts were probably the exact same as Jim's thoughts. Delighted, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. It's a winnable game, but it's a winnable game for St Mirren as much as it's a winnable game for Livingston. And I think all 4 teams will probably be looking at it saying it's a decent draw. I'll boycott it. I'll boycott it if they put it in. Listen, you couldn't deny that. I think if you went round areas, Jack, Callum, Jim and myself, every single club and every single player and every single member of the coaching staff's what to go to Hampden. My full team talk today was about going to Hampden, so they can't move it.
As well, there's going to be no fans.
Well, no, look, Celtic and Rangers out now, and they'll bring fans back for the final or something like that. But nah, but it'll be brilliant. It'll be brilliant. I know we're used to playing at Hampden with no fans. We were in League One 4 years ago, so it's not that bad.
For such a small space of time, what's been the special recipe for such a big turnaround?
Just myself. Nah, I'm only kidding. I don't know, to be honest. I think we asked ourselves questions after the last St Mirren game. We put demands on one another, we had meetings, and I don't know, it was a combination of things. Even Gary resigning probably gave boys a wee bit of realism. Like, this is the other side of football. You can't keep getting bad results and everything stays the same. So I think it was a combination of things, just a wee bit of squad realism, and we all started putting demands on one another.
And in the final game that everybody's talking about, St Mirren 3, Rangers 2. I think I rewrote that match report while I was there about 5 or 6 times, and caused my fingers all sorts of problems. But I mean, amazing for St Mirren. Everyone they've been through this season, to then have that is massive. But I suppose the thing for them now is if they go, they've beat Aberdeen, they've beat Rangers. The disappointment they'll have if they go to Hampden and get beat off Livingston, with the greatest of respect to Livingston. It's almost like St Mirren now are just going to be completely gutted if it's anything but the cup after the route they've taken.
I thought they were really good value for the run last night, to be fair. Rangers controlled first 45 and then were piss poor after that. I thought St Mirren kind of played their game really well. They put the likes of Bassey under a lot of pressure and kind of nullified Rangers' threat down the right. So it's hard to grudge them the result. It was a really, really good performance by the buddies and got some really well taken goals as well. I think the third in particular, Colin McCarthy's one. I mean, you see that a million times that those kind of opportunities fall to players and it can end up anywhere but the back of the net. So he's done really well to kind of show that composure and to finish it off. So I fair play to him. I think we kind of a couple of red flags for Steven Gerrard coming away from it, but Jim Goodwin must be absolutely delighted this morning.
Yeah, I must admit, I did think when that second goal went in, I think if it went to extra time, Rangers would have won that.
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably fair.
I think Jim Goodwin said as much because he said that his players just didn't have anything left. But I mean, even though you can say what you want about Rangers' performance, Jim Goodwin did said to you before the game, somebody has to beat them. It was never going to go on forever. It was probably the game Rangers didn't want to lose out of all of them. Obviously, every game for them is important this season, but probably this one more than most. They didn't want to slip up in. But St Mirren now into a semi-final after everything they've been through this season. Obviously, there's no rest for them. They're still fighting at the bottom of the league. And now this has to be some sort of springboard to league success as well. But they are unbeaten in 10, and we spoke to Jim Goodwin at the end of last night.
Well, look, I mean, I'm extremely proud, obviously, of the effort and the overall performance of the players. And yeah, we're just delighted that we were able to pull off something that probably nobody outside our dressing room thought we could. Rangers are a fantastic team. They're in great form. Prior to tonight, I think there were 27 games unbeaten. So, you know, for us to be the team that puts a stop to that was remarkable, really. And full credit must go to the players for just their work rate, their effort, and the goals that they managed to get. Yes, it is. Financially, it'll give everybody a great boost. You know, and the players have, like many teams in the country, have waived the right to any bonus. Yeah, I think there might be a queue outside Tony's door tomorrow because I'm sure the boys would like something for their efforts tonight. But yeah, look, it's massive. You know, the revenue just hasn't been there for anybody this year, and cup runs are vital. And it's something I spoke about from day one when I came into the job. You know, we want to make ourselves genuine top 6 contenders, and we want to get in the habit of getting to the latter stages of cup competitions. And thankfully, this year we've given ourselves a real fighting chance in everything.
Right, well, I don't think there can be any more shocks in the League Cup because I think everyone has literally happened. Anything that could be shocking about the League Cup has happened. But I suppose for us not the Old Firm, it is nice to see 4 teams from outside of Glasgow involved in the last 4 of the tournament. It's been a very long time since we've been able to say that. Obviously, Celtic's dominance in the Cup in recent years, and then when Rangers started working back up the leagues and started moving through the sort of last 4 and stuff. And it's nice to see as well, even though it's 4 teams outside of Glasgow, it's also nice to see some different names there. I think Hibs, Aberdeen, Hearts, Celtic and Rangers have pretty much been the teams more or less regularly involved in these sort of showpiece events over the last 3 or 4 seasons. So it's nice to see some of the, though I say smaller teams, but definitely teams who aren't used to getting there. I think this is Livingston's first semi-final since 2006. St Mirren, I think this might be the first time they've been to Hampden. I think maybe even
since they won the cup.
Since they won the cup, I might need to double check that, but I think it's definitely one of the first times since then. And Hibs are obviously usuals at there. I think this is 4 semi-finals in a row for them now. And St Johnstone haven't been there for 5 or 6 years either. So some new faces. It'll be a brand new name on the cup, and hopefully.
Before you wrap it up though, Ben, I want to put you in the spot and whose name's going to be on
it. The way it's gone, St Mirren. I've just got a feeling. See, when you're speaking to Jim Goodwin and stuff, I just get a feeling about it. And I've not to say that Livingston, St Johnstone or Hibs haven't played well or done well to make this stage. I think they have, but I don't get that same feeling like, oh, they're going to do it. I've had that feeling about a couple of different teams for a couple of different reasons this season in different competitions, and St Mirren's probably the one strongest after winning that. And you can tell when he's speaking about it. You get asked Jim Goodwin last night, think you can win it. And you know that way, he didn't want to say, yes, we can win it, but you can definitely tell in his head, he's like, aye, we can, as long as we turn up, we should be all right. Obviously, I imagine there's so many tantalising things to look at. I mean, it's a potential cup final rehearsal for them at the weekend, St Johnstone v St Mirren. And they obviously beat Livingston a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, it'll be interesting, but that's in January. So back to league action for us this weekend. And as well as that, Scottish Cup final is also on Sunday. We've spoken to Danny Granger and Andy Webster ahead of that one. So that'll be out on Saturday, as well as our usual Premiership reviews and previews. So we hope you have enjoyed. Please do remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, take it easy.